Hello, everyone. Thanks for your patience in waiting as we get this call set up. Very happy to have Ken Holland on the line. So I have a number of questions. So Ken, we'll get started. A question from Ryan Rashad from TSN. The playoffs would have been starting this week. What do you think this group might have been capable of this year, given the power play was going well, the goaltending you were getting, and the confidence of this group?
Well, I think that's the disappointment that we have this pause in the season. I think everybody was excited to see what we could accomplish. We'd played very, very, we got off to a great start the first 10 games, and then we sort of treaded water for 30 games, played, I think, one game under 500. And then from Christmas time, from the 1st of December 31st on, we played at a high level, and I think everybody was excited to, once if you can play your way into the playoffs, we had positioned ourselves where we controlled our own fate, believing that we believed that we were going to play our way into the playoffs. And then when you get into playoffs, you never know. When you look at the recent results in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you can throw the regular season stats out the window, and it's wide open. So I think that's the disappointment of not being able to continue on, but certainly we all understand what's going on in the world today.
Question from Stephen Wino, Associated Press. Recognizing, of course, that health and safety are the most important things, and this is secondary. How concerned are you? Are you concerned about this pause and how it'll affect the salary cap for next season and beyond?
Well, I think, everybody's, there's lots of concerns now. Obviously, the most important concern is the health and the welfare of everybody in the world. You see what's going on. People are dying, and that we're trying to get this pandemic, this virus, trying to win the war against this virus. So once that happens, certainly the hope is that we're going to be able to pick up and conclude this regular season in some degree and play some Stanley Cup playoffs. But certainly it's going to be a different world for everybody for a period of time. Even when we start to get back up and running, nobody knows where the world is going to be over the next few weeks and few months. But hopefully we get an opportunity to finish the season and see what we can accomplish.
1 second, Ken.
Lost you.
Yeah. 1 second. I'm going to see if no, hang on a second. Somebody's sharing a screen here for us, so that's causing a problem.
Okay.
S. Harlow, please stop sharing your screen. Thank you. I don't know how that happened. Here. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
There we go.
New technology.
Good job, Andre.
Another question, this also from Stephen Wino. Because this sport relies so much on chemistry, cohesion, players could go months, and the possibility players could go months without practicing together. What kind of hockey do you expect if the season does resume?
Well, I would think there's going to be ample opportunity for players to, hopefully it'll be like a normal mid to late August, where we've got a period of time before we get up and running. I think that, a lot of this is going to obviously depend on health officials and when they allow people to leave their houses and to head down to these facilities. And do we start out training in smaller groups and build to bigger groups, or do they just open it up and we can? But I think we're going to have enough time where the players are going to be able to, find their chemistry. Everybody's on a level playing field. So I think that when we come back, everyone's going to be, you're hearing about players that have been injured are starting to announce that they're healthy or they're close to coming back. So you're going to have full lineups, excited, motivated athletes. Will they be a little bit rusty at the start? Probably, but I think as you start to play some games, that rust will be gone in a matter of a few games.
Adam Cook from CTV. There's been talk about possibly having the playoffs in August at a neutral site like North Dakota. What do you think about that type of scenario? Do you think Edmonton would be a possible site for that type of scenario?
Well, I think I think all the players would love the opportunity to finish the season, and it's not perfect. Obviously, everyone's going to do the best they can do. So if we got to play hockey in July and August, we'll play hockey in July and August. And once we get up and running, everybody will be excited about the opportunity to try to make some noise in the playoffs and go on a playoff run. So it's a different world. We've got to adjust to what we're battling against. And again, the hope is that we're going to find a way to finish this season.
Ken, from Adam Cook, any concern about players like Clefbaum, who's in Europe and may have issues returning to Edmonton?
Well, I'm just guessing, but I've got to think if we're going to get back and playing, or when we do get back and playing, it's going to be a different world than we are in today, where we've got closed borders and people are instructed to stay home and only go out, for groceries and essential. I got to think that if we're getting to the point, if we're talking about playing games, that there's more flights and you're going to be able to start to move around the country. And so I don't really have the answer to that. I don't think anybody knows, but I would expect that when we do play, that it's going to be a different world than it is today.
Question from Marty Klinkenberg, Globe and Mail. Can you take us through the night of March 11th and then the next morning and afternoon of March 12th and describe maybe what was going on in the background as you were finding out what was going to happen with the NHL pause?
Well, we were playing home that night on Wednesday, March the 11th, home against Winnipeg. I was sitting in a box. Personally, I was sitting in the press box with, I think, Keith Gretzky, Bob Nicholson, and Bill Scott. And obviously we have a couple of TVs in our suite. One's on our game and one's on another game that we want to have on. And some point in time during, I don't know, maybe the middle of the second period or something, they announced that the NBA had shut down. And certainly, so when the game was over, I went down into the coach's room, and we was post game was over, and certainly that was all the talk in the coach's room about the decision that the NBA had made, and got word shortly, either later that night or early the next morning, that everybody was supposed to just kind of stay put. The National Hockey League was going to make a decision with the Board of Governors on the next move, and found out obviously on Thursday that there was going to be a pause in the season. So things happen fast, and 48 hours or 72 hours earlier, you certainly weren't thinking about the season taking a pause, but things happened quickly. And as we watch in the world today over the last 3 weeks, things are happening, continue happening quickly. So certainly it's an unprecedented time in the world today, and everyone's dealing with it the best that they can.
Question from Rob Tishkowski, Post Media. Rob is sure that you are privy to some inside information and is wondering how optimistic you are that the season will resume in some form.
Well, I'm optimistic and hopeful. I think you're going in. We're in the unknown. I mean, the world's we're in a place that I don't think anybody knows, but certainly there's people all around the world trying to figure out ways to get the pandemic under control. I'm sure there's scientists and people trying to figure out vaccines, and there's lots and lots of smart people. We're all in this together. The whole world's in this together. So we're gonna win the battle. It's just a matter of how soon and when. So I'm optimistic. It's early April. We were just talking earlier on this call about, somebody said about playing hockey in July and August. You get all of April, all of May, all of June. You get into July, we're 4 and 5 months out. So I just said, we just talked about how quickly things are happening in the world today. So hopefully over the next few months, few weeks to few months, we can get the world can get this somewhat under control, and hopefully we can find some vaccines or something to control it, and we can start to. Everybody wants to start to get our world back. It's going to come in stages. It's not going to come all at once. So I'm optimistic that there's enough time out there that we're going to find a solution to get sports back. I think and businesses back, and slowly start to get our world back. I think that's what everybody's hoping for, and certainly that's what I'm hoping for.
Another question from Rob Tichkowski. A lot of young players on the Oilers. How valuable, would playoff experience be to this team if you can get in?
Well, very valuable. I also think, unfortunately, we had 11 games to go. Those were going to be 11 they were sort of like playoff games. So, when I took the job on May the 6th at the press conference, one of the things that I talked about and was hopeful that we could accomplish was that, we headed into the calendar turned to March the 1st, that we'd be in the thick of the playoff race and we could control our own fate. And as you looked at the standings, we were in the playoffs. I mean, those are playoff games. So that game against Winnipeg, that was the night that the season, the last game that we played, that was a big game for both teams. And we played Columbus and Vegas. Those are big games. Teams are fighting to get in the playoffs and fighting for position. So all those games, and then obviously if you're able to play your way into the playoffs, it goes to another level. So certainly the 11 regular season games that were coming up were going to be really valuable for our young players, and we were hopeful that we could play our way into the playoffs, and then again you play another 2 weeks, and if you hope to move on to the next series. So those are very, very valuable time for all players, for a team. We're trying to obviously build a program here and identify players and that we want to go forward with, and also identify roles in the team. And I thought Dave Tippett and his coaching staff had done a tremendous job in making everybody feel important. Everybody had a role, and the young players, Yamamoto, Ethan Bear, Caleb Jones, probably missed one or two, but those were the really young players that were that these games were of the utmost importance in their long-term development. But so hopefully we get an opportunity to come back and pick up where we left off.
Mark Spector, Sportsnet.ca. What are the plans for Philip Broberg next season, Skellefteå or Bakersfield?
If between those two, Skellefteå. I talked about 2 weeks ago. Philip has two agents. He's got a European agent, and he's got Darren Ferris, who's his representative for contract, for the National Hockey League for North America. And I've talked to both those agents over the course of the last 3 weeks. They've told me that Philip, he enjoyed playing for Skellefteå. I think he played at average maybe 13, 14 minutes. A couple of the top defensemen have moved on, gone elsewhere. Feels that there's real opportunity to play a bigger role in Skellefteå next year. My experiences, in Detroit, when I was there, with the Zetterberg was in Europe, Johan Franzen, trying to think, Thomas Holmstrom, Gustav Nyquist was playing college hockey. But the Swedish players that we had, many of them, we left there until they were ready to come over, and we hoped and thought that they could step right into the National Hockey League roster versus going to the American League. And it worked out good with Holmstrom, it worked out good with France, and worked out really good with Zetterberg. So Philip's in a good spot. He's happy. And I'm hoping, obviously this is an unknown because we don't know when training camp is. We don't know when all these other leagues are starting. I'm hoping that to start of next season, Philip can come over and be involved in training camp and maybe play some preseason games just for him to get the experience. And also maybe maybe he can force his way onto the team. But I think the reality is he's 19 years of age. He's got another year of junior hockey. That's his age. He's eligible to play in the World Junior Championships, which obviously are in Edmonton and Red Deer next year. So I think he's in a really good spot, but I'd like him to come to training camp and get some experience there. But he's going to be in Skellefteå if the choice is Skellefteå and Bakersfield, because he's comfortable and he's happy there.
Another question from Mark Spector. What is your sense on the third-round pick in the James Neal Milan Lucic deal? Is that a pick that Edmonton could retain?
Well, I mean, the deal obviously is that James Neal, for us to move that third-round pick from Edmonton to Calgary, James Neal had to score 21 goals. We didn't talk. If you look at the trade memo, there's nothing in there about prorated or anything. It's pretty black and white. So certainly, if the season is, if we're able to complete the season, it'll play itself out, and hopefully James scores a few more goals, because we're gonna need some goals to play our way into the playoffs. But if not, my understanding would be that we would get our third-round pick back.
A question from Reed Wilkins, Ched Radio. You had some players come up from Bakersfield and contribute this season. How do you characterize the strength of your prospect base overall?
Well, I would say to you that our young players really were important. You think of the job that Ethan Baird did this year, top 4 minutes. He paired with Darnell Nurse basically from day one of almost preseason, and then the impact that Yamamoto had on our team coming up at Christmas time when Clef went down, Oscar Clefbaum went down with the injury, one of our top 2 or 3 in terms of minutes and importance on the team on the back end. Caleb Jones stepped in and played in the top 4, and we continue to find ways to win hockey games. So certainly the young players have had a big impact on our team, and there's still some young players in Bakersfield that aren't far away. Obviously, Bouchard, Samorukov, Benson. We've just talked about Broberg, and we've talked about we signed our second-round pick, Raphael Lavoie, who played in the Quebec League and the World Junior team, and we're turning him pro. He'll be in Bakersfield next year. So if you're going to be good, if you're going to have a good team and a good program in a salary cap world, drafting and developing is certainly very, very important. You need draft picks. I made a decision at the trade deadline this year. We spent some draft picks to acquire some players, trying to make our team better and trying to, with the hopes of playing our way in and going on a playoff run. That's not something you can do every year, but certainly I felt that this year was a time that I wanted to be aggressive. So now I'd like to, over the next couple of years, find a way to maybe get some of those picks back so that we can continue to draft and develop. And that's a key part of being, like I said, having long-term success in a cap world.
Ken, 2 more questions. Jason Greger from TSN Radio. Are you interested in signing Anton Slepyshev?
Yes, I have had conversations with his agent, Dan Milstein. I did go over to Russia at Christmas time just before there was a tournament, international tournament, men's tournament, Russia, Czech, Swedes, and Finns. I saw him play a couple of games. I met with him, with Anton and Dan Milstein. Archie Henderson, our director for pro scouting, was with me. So yes, we would like to sign him. I have made an offer, and I stay in touch with Dan occasionally, waiting to hear what decision Anton has made.
Final questions. A couple different reporters asking versions of this. Jason Greger from TSN Radio, John Sexsmith from Global. With the CHL ending their season early, canceling playoffs, just wondering about the impact on the 2020 draft for the Oilers, for the draft, for the players. Like, how does it impact that selection process?
Well, I mean, I was looking today, or not today, recently. I mean, we've got right now we got the 20th pick in the draft. I've talked lots to Tyler Wright, our chief amateur scout. First off, I would say it's a level playing field. I think, everybody in the industry was looking forward to the World Under-18 tournament that was going to be played in the middle of April in Plymouth, Michigan. It's sort of the grand finale for the scouting season. Obviously, that tournament was canceled, so everybody's on a level playing field. I think we're as ready as you can be, given what's happened. Obviously, the combine now has been. It looks like it's been canceled. So at some point in time here, I know Tyler and his staff will get up and start finding ways to interview players that we want to interview for the draft. So obviously, again, it's important that we draft a young player that down the road is going to be an Edmonton Oiler. And I know that Tyler and his staff, Bob Green, and the rest of the scouts are communicating on a regular basis, and I know Tyler is kind of anxious to find a way to get up and start interviewing some of these young players. So we're going into the unknown, but we'll be ready.
Thanks very much, Ken. Thanks for your time. Thanks to all the members of the media. Stay safe, Ken. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, stay safe, everybody.